Hello again, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play Sails of Glory. Now, Sails of Glory, the Napoleonic Wars, is a game that was published by Ares Games, and it was designed by Andrea Angiolini and Andrea Maianini. Is that how that is pronounced?
Close enough.
I hope I have pronounced that correctly. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below if I have not. And this is not actually a board game. This is a miniature game with pre-painted miniatures where you reenact battles during the Napoleonic Wars.
Sea battle.
Yes, sea battles specifically.
Yes.
The game itself comes with the ability to reenact a 2-on-2 fight with one ship of the line and one frigate each between the French and English forces. They have quite a few expansions with many more ships for both forces, plus Spanish and American ships.
Yep.
So let's open it up and see what comes in the box. What do you say?
Sounds good. There's quite a bit, so you have to bear with us.
Indeed. So now, first thing I do want to draw attention to before you pull that off.
Oh, okay.
This insert is great. And
Okay.
what I was talking about was Alex was about to pull off this clamshell here, which keeps your ship miniatures in place and does it really well.
Yeah.
Keeps them nice and protected and keeps them from getting damaged. And now we have to talk about these.
Right.
Because
they're pretty awesome. They are the most detailed, like you said, it's not a board game, but game pieces you will find out of a box.
yeah, these are
I think you can get. These are incredible.
Look at this. These ships, show that up to the camera.
Right.
These ships are just truly phenomenal.
You can see the lifeboats on the deck. Every cannon position is painted.
Now
color.
that's a frigate.
This is the French frigate, right?
Here is a ship of the line. 2 gun decks, much larger, even more detail. These are just incredibly well done. I really like those. So,
Which is why it's important to have the
clamshell.
clamshell to hold them in place, because they are a little fragile. With
Yeah, the thin
sails.
masts. And so I've seen a lot of reports online from other people where their masts have broke.
Yeah.
I'm glad mine came in one piece, and this clamshell really helps to keep them together. Now, the deck comes with 4 decks of cards. Each deck is for a different one of the ships, and they're fairly similar. You get 1 card of the ship itself, which is 2-sided because each ship can represent 2 different ships. So in the case here, this is the HMS Defense and the HMS Vanguard, and it has the statistics for those 2 ships. And then it comes with a maneuver deck, and the maneuver cards look like that. So they give you all the stats you need, depending on where your sails are at, how they move, as well as the maneuver rating, because you can't change the rating up too quickly. Because
We'll get into that in the gameplay.
yeah, we will. Fair enough. Then the next thing we have is 4 of these frames here. Now these are basically like ship dashboards. You keep track of everything on these. And we have, now this takes the place of a ruler. In a lot of miniature games, everything's done in measurements of inches. In this, you use this measuring stick, which rather than using a specific unit of measurement, just has, half the stick, quarter of the stick, full stick,
Right.
basically. So it's very important to the game. And we have 2 of these, so each player can have 1 of, which is very good. Little Ares game catalog. I love it when they put those in. I'm sorry. I still get all kitted out when I see all the other games coming out.
Which you could have.
Yes. So now here is the rulebook. Now, the Ares game rulebook, I am mostly very happy with.
It is robust.
It's got a lot in here. It's got diagrams to show you how the different cards work and how everything is. It has lots of illustrations, lots of diagrams, lots of examples. I have a couple minor rule issues, which we'll talk about later during the review. But the big thing I want to draw attention to in here is the way this book is separated out. There's 3 ways to play. You have the basic, easy way, then you have the full game, and then you have the advanced game.
You have many components of an advanced
Well, no, they have the advanced game, and then they have the optional
the
rules
add-ons, right.
even after that. Yeah,
Right.
And the thing is, they've separated out each section, so it'll say, okay, here's the basic rules. And then it says, now here's the standard game. We will not repeat any of the rules from the basic rules, so if anything in here is different from how it was in the basic rules, this supersedes it. I have a slight problem with this. Now, while the rulebook is fairly well done and it was easy to understand, my slight problem with this is that it makes it difficult sometimes to look up a rule.
You have to refer back.
Yeah.
Well, but occasionally.
But first you have to check, like if you're playing the advanced game, first you check, is this a rule that was added in the advanced game, if you don't remember.
Right.
And then if it's not, then you go back to the basic game.
Or, no.
Full game,
Full
then
game,
the
then basic.
Yeah,
right.
so it can be, that is one minor problem I have with these.
I don't know how that would be corrected, just because of how...
Some nice quick reference sheets.
Maybe, it might be something...
Like separate quick reference sheets for the basic game and the standard game and the advanced game.
That's a good idea.
Then we have these. Now, these are really cool. I quite like these. They fit together like a puzzle, and they give you all the statistics for your ship when you fit them together, like so. And they go in the dashboard, and they show you damage track and the firepower of your ship and its burden. And these are very well done. They fit right into these top slots here on the dashboard, which we will show you when we're showing you how to play the game. So this comes with 4 of these because there are 4 ships in the box. Now the next thing I want to show you is the wind gauge. This is very nicely done. It allows you to show which way the wind is going. During the standard rules, you pick a direction, usually either east or west. You set this on the table and the wind does not change, but there is an optional rule to change the wind and even change the strength of the wind, which is all done with this wind gauge.
Yep.
Now, this is one of the few, and generally speaking, I like the components of this game, but this is one of my few complaints.
Yeah.
And that is this. This is to check wind direction at your ship. You point this at the center mast, the main mast would be?
Your main mast. This tells you which part of your base of your ship the wind is striking.
Yes.
And that determines your movement, and if you happen to be facing the wind, it really determines your movement.
Yes.
It can have a big impact. So these actually get used fairly frequently throughout the game.
And as you can see, that around the base, there's green, there's orange, and there's red. Green lets you move the fastest. Orange is not quite as fast, and red is backing sails, which really messes with your movement.
Right.
And here's the problem with it. When I go to pick this up and move it, this happens a lot.
Yeah, it's a tiny little friction piece of plastic that uses friction to hold onto it. It wobbles a little bit. It's the only thing I think in this entire.
This is my least favorite component in this game, it's a little bit of a complaint. It's maybe a small complaint, but in a game where they have components as amazing and beautiful as these ships are, this feels a little lackluster in regard to these wind gauges here.
Definitely an afterthought.
Yeah, and the final bit of components are lots, and I do mean lots, of cardboard chits. Now, we have tons of bags of these. These are the brown E-letter chits, and here are the blue, some blue chits there, and some yellow.
They all have something to do with gameplay,
Yeah, these are for damage. So, depending on what you're firing, and generally it's very easy to reference because the ruler usually tells you what color to draw. So, if you're in this area with the cannonballs, that is a yellow chit that you draw. The orange area is the orange chits. Red and purple is for ball and chain and grape shot, respectively. And you draw the appropriate colored chit. And what it is we'll show you when you're playing, but that chit adds up to damage that can fill in damage boxes on your ship's dashboard. And then the final bit, the really, really last bit, is some nice little islands for pieces of terrain to use when playing the game to sail around and such. We've been mainly fighting in open water, but I do look forward to adding in the terrain rules. They do seem interesting. You can trick people into grounding their ships.
Well, and depending on how advanced you want to play, you can make the terrain either offensive or defensive.
Oh, yes, you can have cannons.
Put cannon and battlements on the islands.
There's an expansion that comes with lots of forts, and all the forts have cannons and ranges they can shoot at. So that's a look at everything that comes in the box for Sails of Glory. So now we're going to head over to the table, and we're going to run you through a few turns and show you how this game plays. And when we're done with that, we're going to come back here, and we're going to talk about how the game feels, and we're going to review it and rate it. Okay, so here we can see a game setup of Sails of Glory. I am on this side of the table playing the British fleet over here, and Alex is on that side of the table where he's pointing, playing the French fleet. Now, we each have our dashboard set up, and we have it set up with all the stats of our ship's card, and our very first ship's planned movement, as well as all of our crew actions and our movement decks and our different kinds of ammunition are all set up on our various sides of the board. The wind is going east and the gauge is placed on that side of the field. We can put it here actually so the camera can see it easier. And now we're going to show you, we're going to run you through the advanced version of Sails of Glory. And the main reason is because it's our favorite way to play.
Yeah, and the advanced version shows you all of the depth of simulation that this game is capable of doing.
You know, I find personally, and I really have to say it, that when we're playing the basic version, it feels like it's literally nothing but a basic intro into the game. The standard version is a full game, but once you graduate to that full-on simulation, the advanced game, that's where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So the first thing we do in the advanced game is the planning phase. So we have to plan out the card for next turn as well as the crew. So we're going to look through our cards real quick here and find out what we want our ship to do next turn. And this gets interesting because you have to plan ahead and you have to know where you're going to want to be and what you're going to want to do. Next round. So it does make it a bit challenging in that regard, that being able to actually plan out a full turn in advance, I find that to be a bit of a challenge. What do you think on that?
Well, it is the hardest part of the planning. I mean, you have to really think ahead.
Yes.
It's trying to simulate the nature of fighting ships under sail. Because
which is brilliant.
It takes a long time to raise and lower sails to adjust direction. And that's what you're doing. If you plan your turn the wrong way, you pay the consequences.
Indeed, I would definitely go along with that. Okay, I'm going to put 2 crew actions on the Vanguard and 2 crew actions planned on the Beleaguer. Now, each of us, based on our dashboards here, have the ability to do up to 4 crew actions, but in the early turns, you rarely see people doing more than 2, I find. So,
maybe.
Oh, are you planning more than... Oh, my goodness. Are you planning 4 actions?
The 4th is a just in case, which will not likely happen, but... You got the space, so...
That is fair. All right, so are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so now we're going to do the action phase where we flip our actions and find out what we are doing. So I have a just-in-case fire to the left and a raise sails, as well as a just-in-case fire to the left and raise sails on both my ships here. What do you have on your ships?
I have a raise sails and a just-in-case... Fire at both sides, just in case fire infantry.
Fire the muskets, yes.
Yes.
So, well, I didn't think we'd wind up anywhere near
No.
I didn't bother with that. I did the left, though, just in case, but it's probably not, we're not going to be anywhere near right.
No, we're not.
So now we do the movement phase where we flip up the cards for our individual ships and we put them in front of them. Now, being that I'm at full sails, the cards they have 3 different lines, and they have one for full sails, one for battle sails, and one for backing sails. Since I have raised my sails to full sails with my first turn's actions, I can now move as fast as possible with this ship. Both of my ships, actually, are just going to be going straight ahead and are going to be taking their movement to do straight ahead actions. Now, we check with the wind gauge to see what color it is pointing through, and in my case, pointing the wind gauge directly east and pointing it at my main mast, I am looking at green for both of my ships, so I get to use the longer movements, which the way it works is you put the card in front and then you put the ship all the way up to the front of where it's moving to before removing the card and bringing it back to the deck in question.
because of the orientation of my frigate, I was actually in the orange for the wind, so I can only move on the full sails
up to the orange.
Up to the orange line.
Okay.
And that.
And let's show that card to the camera so we can point out what we mean. So now, because it was in the orange, there's an orange picture of the ship there. You could only move to the orange area. Yes.
And then I was in the green on my ship of the line, so I can move the full movement at full sail.
Indeed. Now, in the action phase, no one is anywhere at this point near firing range, as you can see. Definitely not. So we are going to just move up our planned out movements for next turn and move on to the next turn in planning again. At which point we are ready to check our actions. So I just have firing to the left with both ships just in case I wind up in range. What do you have?
I have fire left to right. The luxury of the early parts of the games before you've attained any damage is, I think, you get to have the just in cases.
All the just in cases.
All the just in cases. So I have firing left and right and
musket fire. So let's do our movements, which I'm going to again be in the green here and be able to move full sails green, which is very nice.
And I am now also in the green on both of my ships.
You turned into the green, turned away from the wind a little bit there.
Correct.
With your other ship, so that's very helpful. I'll move up my other two orders for next round. And now let's have a look. It would appear that we are getting much closer to possible range. Doesn't look like I've got range on anything yet, though. I don't know if you...
I know. If you don't, I don't.
Okay, so in which case, we're going to immediately move on to the third turn here.
An important thing to remember is when you're planning your actions for your movements, you have to be within your maneuverability rating between the two cards you're playing. So
no, you have to. Yes, you cannot change the number. Let's show what we're talking about. Okay. So this card has a number 4 on the top, and an important thing to remember when doing your maneuvers is you cannot go plus or minus this 4 more than the maneuverability, the veer rating of your ship. Correct. So this ship has a veer rating of 5. It could give 5 higher or 5 lower than the 4. But all right, so that's it for me. Now we're going to do our movement because we don't check for combat till after the movement. So even though we declare that action now, it is important to note that we have to wait a moment to find out if we're going to wind up in range. So now I am still in the green, but I'm now in the battle sails, so I move a little slower. Mm-hmm. I'm slowing down to hopefully get the ability to hit my targets here. We'll see how this goes.
My frigate is in a unique position now where the wind is now directly behind,
which actually moves you slower.
My ship, which actually moves you slower, which is something you have to account for.
Indeed.
So now we are entering.
Oh, we're getting in range here.
The interesting.
Oh, we're very in
aspect
range
of this.
Okay, so I am not going to fire with the Meleager, but I'll tell you what. You just gave me a raking shot.
I did.
You did. Now, a raking shot is I can fire straight down the length of the ship here from the front of the Vanguard. So the Vanguard will definitely be firing with his left. It's going to be a front strafe raking shot, so that should be really good, though. Because those raking shots do a significant amount of extra damage. Every 3 pulls causes you to pull an extra pull in the front. Every 2 pulls causes you to pull an extra pull in the rear. Okay. So now that is +1 damage pull for every 3 pulls rounded up. So in the case of the Meleager, in the case of the Vanguard, who is actually getting to fire at, is that the Aquilon?
Aquilon, yes.
Now I am going to cause you to take 4 pulls on the orange, which is pretty brutal because that's actually going to become 6 pulls on the orange with the red.
On the orange. Correct.
Yes. So go ahead and you pull and put that in front of the Aquilon, the 6 orange pulls. Now the way we usually do it is we keep everything in a bag and we just look we look up in the air while we're pulling from the bag to keep it nice and random.
Right.
So Alec, you can't see him, but Alex is looking up in the air and pulling 4 chits out that he's going to put in front of 6 chits. 6 chits out that he's going to put in front of his dashboard there. So let's see what you got. Well, it looks like now you've got 2 zeros, which the zeros get pulled right off. That's 3 zeros. Ouch.
So the zeros go into your
0 area.
So as you take 0 damage, the number of zeros available for future damage is reduced.
So now you have enough to fully damage 1 ship area and minor damage another, but you also got
have a rudder damage.
You have a rudder damage.
So that is in the specialty damage, which is right here.
So we need to pull out a rudder damage token to mark the fact that you have a rudder damage, which will reduce your veer by 1, and then if you do not repair it, any additional rudder damage you get counts as a damaged mast, as a broken mast, which is very devastating to ships because 3 broken masts and your ship will surrender, as well as, of course, if you do all the damage to the hull of the ship or kill off all of the crew.
3,
5, and then the second one,
yes. That goes there. So now this one is full.
So that goes face down as, yes, that damage box has been filled. But before we put that on, were you firing back at me at all?
I was, for sure.
So getting your full statistics for firing, who were you
I'm going to declare a full broadside from the Aquilan
onto the Meleager. Oh, now I do not like the Meleager's chances with that.
Also have a raking shot from the right side.
From the rear.
Of the rear of my Unite. Also on the
Okay, so how many pulls am I taking? Now, what color are we in for the Unite?
So the Unite, for the Unite, we are in the yellow.
Okay, so how many yellow pulls am I taking on that raking shot?
You are going to get 2 yellow pulls on the raking shot.
However, it's a raking shot, so that gives me +1, so I get 3 pulls.
3 yellows.
So 3 yellow pulls on the Meleager. Let's see, I will pull 1, 2... 3 zeros. Lucky Meleager. But
yes.
This looks less good. What do we
you're
got?
going to be getting 7 yellows.
They're still yellows, though?
They are still yellows.
Oh, that is beneficial.
Yeah, you are in the yellow.
Okay, so the Meleager takes 7 more yellow pulls.
And it's important to remember that we're going from base to base.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So actually, wow.
Not too bad.
I drew a lot of zeros, which is good for me. However, where I did not take a lot of actual damage to the ship or loss of crew, I did in fact take a lot of special damage, which is not very good. Because this 4 damage here gives me a broken mast, which is very dangerous. It's going to significantly inhibit the mobility of my ship. And this one here means I have sprung a leak and I'm going to start to sink and have to now pump water out and repair the leak as soon as possible. I also took 1...
sail damage?
Yes, 1 sail damage.
Oh my.
So you filled up 2 boxes on the Meleager, 3 boxes on the Meleager actually, 3 damage boxes, which isn't too bad. Did a sail damage, a broken mast, and sprung a leak. So there you have it. This is how it goes. Now, on my next turn with the Meleager, I would want to plan to take an action, which would take away my ability to attack, to pump water and also to start repair of the leak. Now, the repair of the leak is going to take 2 turns to do, and eventually I'm also probably going to want to repair the mast, which is going to take more time. So now his severe damage he did to the Meleager really pulled it out of the fight for a little bit. It's still going to probably get to fire off a volley on the next turn, but it's going to need to pull out of the battle to repair. While the Vanguard is getting in really close to try to get some more shots on the Vanguard, on the Aquilan. However, the Vanguard is going to need to reload on this side. It takes a full turn to reload the cannons, and therefore is probably going to be a sitting duck to the cannons on the Aquilan. So therefore, you can see why it is I usually lose this game. It's because I've actually set myself up to get hit by you twice in a row.
If I judged the turns properly and predicted correctly what the captain here is trying to do, that therein is the strategy.
Yes.
Movement and the anticipation is your strategy. How you fire is that sort of happens as it happens. You can plan for it, but the moving and the how you pick your movement cards is really where this comes into play.
So now we're going to head back to the table, and we're going to talk about how this game feels. We're going to review it, and we're going to rate it. Okay, so there you have it. That is how you play the basics of a game of Sails of Glory. Now, we were showing you the advanced play because we really enjoyed the crew orderings.
Crew orderings, right? The wind,
the
sails,
the sails, being able to raise and lower sails,
right.
and also the in addition the special damage.
The damage, right?
Which now this game has 3 ways of play. You've got the basic way, the standard game, and the advanced game. The basic game is just move and shoot.
Move and shoot, yeah, right.
There's not much to it.
No.
And it feels to me that the basic game is really just to teach you the basics of wind direction and how to move in this game. And then once you play it once or twice to get the feel for it, you're not going to play the basic game anymore.
Right.
What do you think?
Not a bad idea to start with it.
No,
because what you do when you get into the advanced, there's so many things to keep track of.
Yes.
It's a good idea to have that experience of how the game is played.
But it's not really a game, it's a training tool.
That's a very good way of putting it. It is more of a training which is, you wouldn't think that that's a good thing. But it is. It is. It makes the game more enjoyable.
Then you have the full game, which
right.
The full game is a game. It is a full game. You have planning ahead. You have reloading your cannons. But they don't get into the full-on simulation, the full nitty-gritty like they do in the advanced game of individually ordering people to load the cannons, individually ordering them to fire the cannons,
right.
ordering them to pump water, no special damage, none of that. Right. But you do have raking shots in the full game. You do have raising and lowering sails is in the full game, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm not sure now. I'm a little confused. It might be. It might not. I'm not quite sure actually.
Well, that leads us nicely into a bit of a hiccup with the game. Is that once you start moving into those advanced rules, you refer back to the previous rules so much that you actually
you forget which
was from which, because it once you're in the advanced game, you're playing the full capacity of the game, and it's hard to remember how you transitioned there.
But wow, is the advanced game ever a simulation of naval warfare in the Napoleonic era? I mean, like when you saw the movie Master and Commander, and you saw how everybody was reacting and them trying to do all the different things while being fired upon, that's what it feels like.
Right, you feel like you're controlling 100 people doing dozen different things
as you're having to pump water and put out fires and
repair leaks and masts and rudders and maneuver and fire and reload and then when you get into the optional
there's optional rules, yes.
Even more so.
They even have boarding actions in the optional rules.
Entanglement of rigging.
Well, now
it's incredible what you can get into.
Let's talk about a few of the negatives in this game.
Okay.
So first off,
before we get carried away,
we already touched on those wind gauges, and those are
a little shoddy.
Especially in a game that has such amazing components in general, those feel like a little bit of a letdown because they are a little poorly done.
Yeah, they're the only thing that's really
is a poorly done. Yeah, everything else is great.
Everything else is nice.
Also, though, we did have a bit of a complaint. There are a couple of rules in the book, even into the advanced and optional rules. There are a couple of rules where when 2 ships are going to do... The rules are specifically when 2 ships are going to move into the same space, and the other one is in the optional rule for the boarding actions.
Boarding actions, right.
So, if 2 ships are going to move into the same space, you go in order of burden. But if you have the same burden, it just says randomize it. And then a similar thing happens with boarding actions. If both you and your opponent are declaring boarding actions on each other, again, if you have the same burden, you randomize it.
Right.
And in a game that gets so into detail with simulation, just, come on, they could have done tiebreakers by the number of crew you had left or the amount of damage left on the ship.
Maneuverability. There's so many components you keep track of that could be used for tiebreakers that there's no reason to randomize it so early. Like, if you get to the end of the list of a half a dozen things and you're still tied, okay fine, right? Flip a coin, whatever, move on. But It's not that hard.
No,
it's all right in front of you. Just keep track of it.
In fact, we house ruled it,
Yeah.
and we figured out an order of multiple things to do as tiebreakers rather than randomizing, because we just felt that saying of just, oh, you have the same bird and randomize it was really out of place in a game that got so in depth as a simulation of Age of Sail naval combat.
Right. The undamaged, fully maneuverable ship can lose
To
the
severely
one that's
damaged.
on fire, half the crew are dead,
Yes.
and has no rudder. That seems
That is a little
right.
silly.
Yeah.
But now, what is good about this game?
Everything else.
The miniatures are awesome. I like the pre-painted miniatures a lot.
Yeah.
I love, for me, every time you added more rules in on this game to make it a more complex and more in-depth version of controlling naval warfare, every new rule you added in, I was like, yes, please.
Yes. Yeah.
More, give me more.
Right.
I'm up to the point where I'm like, next time we play, we should try half of the optional rules. Let's just throw them in.
See what happens, right?
Yeah, just do them all and see what happens. Let's do, because why not?
Right, and it's deceptive how powerful the optional rules are to change the game.
Oh, they really can be.
One little twist in fire damage on your ship, in
that's the advanced rules.
In the advanced rules, that's what I'm sorry. How much different the advanced rule play makes it.
Those fires and flooding the ships, even though it's more advanced, so there's more to keep track of, they can make ships go down a lot quicker, so they can actually shorten the game. But I mean, some of the optional rules,
right.
like the change in wind direction, you could be, I'm about to turn in and get you, and suddenly the wind direction turns against me.
Right.
And wow, did my plan just go out the window.
But even the random changes of wind direction, you can still
try to
compensate for it.
Oh, yeah.
And plan for it because you have a little bit of warning.
Yes.
So
you do.
If you're good at reading the wind, I suppose
you can in this. You can actually read the wind because
you can use that to your advantage even more so. I mean, it's almost the number of interactions in the rules and the different components lead this. You will never play the same game twice.
No,
you will never. There's four pieces, and you will never play the same game.
And with just the 4 pieces in here, and then they have tons of other pieces you can buy, and I want to buy lots of pieces. Right. And I mean, you've never gotten into a miniature game, and what did you tell me before we did this?
I want to get the Spanish fleet. I want to try them out because they're different ships, different capabilities, different maneuver. Each nationality
is a little bit different.
Each navy's a little slightly different.
The Spanish ships look good. They do.
Yeah, they look like a lot of fun.
All right, now even with the negatives, even with the few problems I have with this game, I want to rate this one first. I am giving this 9 out of 10 stars because it's that amazingly fun, and I love how in-depth you can get with the control of your individual ships. And generally speaking, when things go wrong, they go so wrong so fast. And when they go right, they go so right so fast. But the thing is, whether it goes wrong or right, it was all up to you.
Right.
You did it really well, or you screwed up really bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't blame that on anybody else but yourself. So I agree. 9 stars for sure.
Wow, right there with me.
Yeah, that was a no doubt. This is so let's talk about what this says on the box for a second. It says this is a 30-minute plus game, which is 100% accurate.
Yes.
You may be able to get a 30-minute game in at
one ship
versus one ship.
Yeah.
Actually,
if you're very quick at it and you're playing advanced and you set each other on fire.
Yeah, you started really fast. Yeah. Which is unusual for me for a longer game.
Now, this is for a full-size game. This is more like, what, a 2-hour game?
It's about a 2 hour
2 hours.
Game. But it's intensely strategic.
Oh, God.
Your mind is going the entire time.
You thoroughly lose track of time.
And by the time one of these ships is sunk, you look up and you have no idea how long it's been because you are thoroughly engaged.
And the simultaneous turns, you're never not doing something.
Right. Either you're moving, firing, or setting up to move and fire again.
And you all do it at the same time, so there's never a downtime. There's never waiting for a lot of other tabletop miniature games. Right. You're twiddling your thumbs while your opponent does their maneuvers and shoots at you. In this, you're doing it at the same time.
Right.
And that's really pretty awesome. So there you have it. 9 stars from me. 9 stars.
9 from me, yeah.
That is 18 total stars from us here at the Board Game Captain. That is an incredibly 2 thumbs way up review. Yes. An incredibly good review for Sails of Glory, Napoleonic Wars. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on Sales of Glory or on this video, be sure to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial video and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give this video a like, share this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And be sure to hit that little bell icon on my channel so you will get alerts every time I upload a new video. And until next time, game on.